The Galactic surveyed the massive data crystal pulsed with a soft blue light as it settled into the analysis chamber aboard the Coalition research vessel, Harmony of Stars. Dr. Taman Park adjusted his viewing screen and began reviewing the final assessment report from Survey Probe. 7,749. 3 full cycles of observation data from the third planet of a yellow dwarf star. System waited for his analysis. Tay-Min had been studying alien species for 47 standard years. He had seen warrior races that could tear through steel with their bare hands, peaceful civilizations that lived in perfect harmony with their worlds, and everything in between. Today's report was about a species called humans from a world they called Earth. The probe had done its job well. It had watched these humans from the edge of their solar system, recording everything without being detected. The data showed a species that had barely learned to leave their home planet. Their fastest ships used chemical rockets that took months to reach their nearest neighbor worlds. Most of their technology was primitive by galactic standards. Tay-Min scrolled through the behavioral analysis section. The humans spent much of their time fighting each other over resources, territory, and ideas. They had divided their single world into hundreds of separate groups that often worked against each other instead of together. Wars were common, and they had even created weapons capable of destroying all life on their planet. Typical Level 2 species, Taman muttered to himself as he made notes. Self-destructive tendencies, limited technology, poor social organization. The probe had also studied their biology. Humans were fragile creatures compared to most spacefaring species. They needed a very specific atmosphere to breathe, could only survive in a narrow temperature range, and their bodies were weak without protective equipment. They lived short lives, usually less than 100 Earth years. But there were some interesting points in the data. Humans showed remarkable creativity in solving problems. When faced with challenges, they often found unexpected solutions. Their art, music, and stories were complex and emotional. They showed strong bonds with their family groups and could work together when they faced common threats. Taman paused at a section about human exploration. Despite their primitive technology, they had managed to land on their planet's moon and had sent robotic probes to other worlds in their system. They seemed driven to explore and learn, even when it was dangerous or expensive. Curious, he said, making another note. High drive for exploration despite technological limitations. The assessment algorithm had already processed all the data and reached its conclusion. The screen displayed the final classification in large, clear text. Species Level 2, non-threatening. Below that, secondary note appeared. Recommend compensation protocol. 7 species show signs of potential extinction due to internal conflicts and limited resources. Taman nodded. The classification system was rarely wrong. It had been developed over thousands of years and had successfully categorized over 10 million species across the galaxy. Level 2 meant the humans posed no threat to other species or to galactic stability. They were more likely to destroy themselves than to become a problem for anyone else. He forwarded the report to Dr. So-Young Kim in the Planetary Distribution Department. If the humans were going to receive compensation worlds, So-Young would handle the paperwork. Compensation Protocol 7 was a standard procedure for struggling species. The galaxy had plenty of empty, habitable worlds, and the Coalition had learned long ago that it was better to give struggling species room to grow than to let them die out. So-Young received the report within minutes. She had been expecting it. As several other species had been classified for compensation this cycle, she opened her world database and began searching for suitable planets. The humans would need worlds similar to their home planet. The probe data showed they required liquid water, oxygen atmosphere, and moderate temperatures. They also seemed to prefer worlds with diverse environments, mountains, oceans, forests. So-Young found 17 worlds that met the requirements. They were spread across 3 different star systems, all within reasonable travel distance from Earth. Each world was empty of intelligent life, but had the basic conditions humans would need to survive. She prepared the standard compensation package. The humans would receive full ownership of all 17 worlds. along with basic terraforming equipment to help them adjust the environments if needed. They would also get star charts showing the locations of their new worlds and basic technology upgrades to help them travel. Between star systems, the compensation protocol was one of the Coalition's most successful programs. Over the past 1,000 years, they had saved hundreds of species from extinction by giving them new worlds to colonize. Most of these species went on to become peaceful, grateful members of the galactic community. Saoyoung sent the paperwork to the Contact Division. It would be their job to make first contact with the humans and deliver the good news. She included a note recommending a gentle approach, as humans appeared to be easily frightened and might not understand the Coalition's generous offer at first, Ambassador. Jae-ho Lee received the contact assignment with mixed feelings. First contact missions were always challenging, but dealing with primitive species could be especially difficult. They often had trouble understanding concepts like galactic government, space travel, and interstellar law. He began planning the contact mission. The Coalition would send a small fleet to Earth's solar system, making sure to approach slowly and broadcast peaceful intentions. They would explain the compensation offer and help the humans understand how fortunate they were. To receive such a generous gift, Jae-ho had handled dozens of first contact missions with level 2 species. Most went smoothly once the aliens understood that the Coalition was trying to help them. Humans would probably be grateful and excited to learn about the greater galaxy and their place in it. Back in his laboratory, Min Park sealed the human assessment report and filed it in the permanent database. Another species cataloged, another potential extinction prevented. The Coalition's mission of protecting and nurturing galactic life continued. He had no way of knowing that. Survey probe 7749 had been damaged by a solar flare during its observation period. The probe had still functioned, but some of its sensors had been affected. It had missed crucial aspects of human nature and capability, focusing only on their current technology level while ignoring their potential for growth and adaptation. The probe had recorded what it saw, but it had not seen everything. It had missed the quiet determination in human eyes, the way they refused to give up even when facing impossible odds. It had cataloged their wars but not their capacity for cooperation when threatened by outside forces. It had measured their technology, but not their ability to learn and improve at incredible speeds. The Coalition was about to make first contact with humanity based on incomplete information. They believed they were dealing with a grateful, primitive species that would be thankful for their help. They had no idea that they were about to encounter something the galaxy had never seen before, a species that would take their generous gift and use it to become a power that would change the balance of the galaxy forever. The stage was set for the greatest miscalculation in galactic history. First contact gone wrong, the Coalition. Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system with perfect precision. Ambassador Jae-ho Lee stood on the bridge of the flagship watching the blue and white planet grow larger on the main screen. After 3 months of travel, they had finally reached their destination. Begin broadcasting on all frequencies, Jae-ho ordered. Standard greeting protocol for primitive species. The communications officer nodded and activated the transmission array. The message went out in hundreds of languages, translated by the Coalition's advanced computers from the data collected by the survey probe. The greeting was simple and friendly, designed not to frighten the humans. Greetings, people of Earth, the message began. We are the Galactic Coalition, representing thousands of species across the galaxy. Come in peace with wonderful news. Your species has been selected to receive a generous gift of 17 beautiful worlds where you can build new homes and grow in safety. On Earth, the message reached every radio, television, and internet connection simultaneously. In government buildings around the world, emergency meetings began immediately. Military leaders rushed to their command centers. Scientists scrambled to confirm that the signals were really coming from space. President Sarah Chen of the United Earth Government was in a meeting when her aide burst through the door. Madam President, you need to see this immediately. Minute Sarah was in the Situation Room, watching the alien message play on every screen. The translation was perfect, but the content was confusing. Who were these aliens? Why were they offering gifts? What did they want in return? Get me our best negotiators, Sarah ordered. and put all military forces on high alert. This could be a trick. The coalition fleet waited patiently for a response. Jeho had handled many first contact situations, and he knew that primitive species often needed time to understand what was happening. He expected the humans to be confused at first, then grateful once they realized the magnitude of the gift being offered. The first human response came 6 hours later. Instead of the gratitude Jeho expected, it was a series of sharp questions broadcast on military frequencies. Unknown vessels, this is Earth Defense Command. Identify yourselves fully. Explain why you have been watching our planet without permission. State your true intentions. Do not approach Earth without authorization. Captain Minsu Chen, who commanded the coalition fleet, looked puzzled. They sound almost hostile. Are they not understanding our offer? Jeho frowned. This was not going according to plan. Broadcast the message again. Perhaps they did not receive it properly. The coalition sent their greeting again, this time with more details about the gift worlds. They explained that 17 planets had been prepared for human colonization, complete with the proper atmosphere and resources. They emphasized that this was free, with no payment required. The human response was even more confusing. Instead of one voice, dozens of different groups began broadcasting questions. Some wanted to know about the coalition's government structure. Others demanded proof of the aliens' claims. Military leaders wanted to know about coalition weapons and defenses. They are asking very specific questions, Minsu observed. Do not sound like the primitive species described in the assessment report. Dae-Yoon Han, Earth's chief negotiator, had been chosen to lead the human response team. She was known for her ability to see through deception and her skill at understanding complex situations quickly. As she studied the alien messages, she became increasingly suspicious. Something is not right about this, she told her team. Why? Would advanced aliens give us free planets? What is their real purpose? And why were they watching us without our knowledge? Instead of accepting or rejecting their offer, she asked for a complete explanation of coalition society, government, and territory. She wanted to know how many species belonged to the coalition, how they were governed, and what obligations came with membership. When Jeho received Dae-Yoon's message, he was stunned. The questions showed a level of strategic thinking that was not supposed to exist in a level 2 species. The humans were not just asking about the gift worlds, they were trying to understand the entire galactic political situation. This is unusual, Jeho admitted to his staff. Most primitive species are so excited about receiving new worlds that they accept immediately. These humans seem to suspect some kind of trap. The coalition team decided to be completely honest. They sent detailed information about their government, their territory, and their mission to help struggling species. They explained that the gift worlds came with no strings attached, and that humans would be free to develop them as they wished. Dae-Yoon studied the new information carefully. The coalition controlled a vast section of the galaxy with thousands of member species. They had advanced technology and powerful military forces. Yet they claimed to be offering free planets to humanity, simply out of kindness. They are either telling the truth, or they are very good liars, she told President Chen. But I still do not understand why they would do this. Advanced species do not give away valuable planets for nothing. The negotiations continued for weeks. The humans asked detailed questions about everything from coalition technology to their laws about territorial expansion. They wanted to know about other species that had received gift worlds and what had happened to them. Afterward, Jeho found himself in the strange position of having to justify the coalition's generosity. No other species had ever questioned their motives so thoroughly. Most primitive civilizations were grateful just to learn that they were not alone in the universe. These humans are remarkably suspicious, he reported to coalition headquarters. They seem to assume that we have hidden motives for our offer. The response from headquarters was swift and clear. The humans were classified as non-threatening. Their questions were probably just fear responses from a primitive species that did not understand galactic politics. Jeho was ordered to proceed with the compensation protocol regardless of human concerns. Meanwhile, on Earth, military leaders were analyzing every detail of the coalition ships. The aliens had superior technology, but their ships were not designed for war. They appeared to be exploratory vessels with minimal weapons. "They are not invaders," reported Admiral Kim Jong-soo. "Their ships are built for peaceful contact, not conquest." But that does not mean we should trust them. Goen finally made her decision. She would accept the coalition's offer, but with conditions. The humans wanted to send their own representatives to inspect the gift worlds before accepting them. They also wanted detailed maps of coalition territory and information about their neighbors. "We appreciate your generous offer," Dayun broadcast to the coalition fleet. "However, we insist on verifying your claims before we accept. We will send our own ships to examine these worlds. We also require complete information about the galactic situation we would be entering." Jeho was shocked by the human demands. No Level 2 species had ever made conditions for accepting gift worlds. They're supposed to be grateful and compliant, not demanding and suspicious. They want to send their own ships to inspect the worlds. He told Captain Minsu. They are treating this like a business negotiation instead of a charitable gift. Minsu shook his head. The assessment report must have been wrong about these humans. They are not acting like a primitive species at all. Coalition found themselves in an unexpected position. Instead of delivering gifts to grateful primitives, they were engaged in complex negotiations with a species that seemed to understand galactic politics better than they should. As the talks continued, one thing became clear to everyone involved. The humans were not the simple, non-threatening species described in the survey report. They were something else entirely, and the coalition was beginning to realize that they might have made a serious mistake in their assessment. The gift that was supposed to help a struggling species was turning into something much more complicated. The humans were not just accepting charity, they were evaluating an opportunity, and they intended to make the most of it. The compensation worlds, despite the difficult negotiations, the coalition decided to honor their commitment. The compensation protocol had been activated, and the paperwork was already filed with galactic authorities. Ambassador Jeho Lee watched. As human ships arrived at the first gift world, a green and blue planet they had named New Eden, the human ships were crude by coalition standards, but they were functional. Humans had upgraded their technology using basic designs provided by the coalition, improving their chemical rockets with simple fusion drives. What impressed Jeho was not the technology itself, but how quickly the humans had adapted and improved it. "They modified our engine designs in just 3 months, reported Chief Engineer Yubin Park from the coalition technical team. Most species take years to understand new technology. These humans learned it, changed it, and made it better. The first colony ship landed on New Eden, carrying 5,000 volunteers. Jinwoo Park, the colony coordinator, stepped onto the planet's surface and immediately began surveying the land. He had been a city planner on Earth and had volunteered to help establish humanity's first interstellar colony. "The soil is rich," Ginwoo reported to Earth via quantum communication link. "The climate is perfect for growing crops. The oceans are clean and full of fish. This world is better than anything we could have imagined." Within weeks, the human colonists had established a working settlement. They built homes, planted crops, and set up communication systems. But what surprised the coalition observers was how organized and efficient the humans were. Observer Nayoung Choi had been assigned to monitor the New Eden colony. She had watched dozens of species attempt to colonize new worlds. Most struggled for years before establishing stable communities. The humans were different. "They work together like they have done this before," Nayoung reported to her supervisors. "They assigned tasks based on individual skills, shared resources equally, and solved problems as a group. Their settlement is more advanced than colonies that have been established for years." The second colony ship landed on a desert world the humans called New Sahara. This planet was much more challenging, with extreme temperatures and limited water sources. The coalition expected the humans to struggle or even fail on this difficult world. Agricultural specialist Yujin Lee led the terraforming team on New Sahara. She had studied the planet's environment and developed a plan to make it more suitable for human life. Using techniques learned from Earth's desert regions, she began transforming the harsh landscape. We will build underground cities. To escape the heat, Eugene explained to her team, we will create artificial oases using water extracted from deep underground. We will plant specially adapted crops that can survive in this environment. The coalition watched in amazement as the humans not only survived on New Sahara but began to thrive. They used solar panels to harness the planet's intense sunlight for energy. They developed new irrigation systems that used minimal water. They even began exporting rare minerals found in the desert to other human colonies. They are not just surviving, Nayang observed. They are improving these worlds. They are making them better than they were before. Engineer Sung-Ho Kim was working on the third colony world, a mountainous planet called New Alps. This world had valuable mineral deposits, but was difficult to access due to its rough terrain. Sung-Ho developed new mining techniques that were more efficient than anything the coalition had seen. The humans are natural problem solvers, reported coalition mining expert Dal-Soo Kim. They look at challenges differently than other species. Where we see obstacles, they see opportunities. As more colony ships arrived at the gift worlds, a pattern began to emerge. The humans were not just establishing separate colonies, were creating a network of connected worlds that worked together as one large community. Trade. Coordinator Hyun-Jin Kim established supply routes between the colonies. New Eden provided food and biological resources. New Sahara supplied energy and minerals. New Alps offered rare metals and manufacturing capabilities. Each world specialized in what it did best and shared with the others. This is unprecedented, reported Dr. Soy-Young Kim, who was monitoring the compensation program. Most species establish isolated colonies that barely communicate with each other. The humans have created an integrated system where each world supports the others. The coalition had expected the humans to be grateful and passive recipients of their gift. Instead, they found a species that was actively improving the worlds they had received. The humans were not just living on these planets. They were transforming them into something better. On New Eden, the colonists had increased crop yields by 300% using advanced farming techniques. They'd also begun breeding new varieties of plants that were perfectly adapted to the local environment. The world was becoming a paradise of food production. New Sahara had been transformed from a barren desert into a thriving industrial center. The humans had built beautiful cities that stayed cool despite the planet's heat. They had created artificial forests that provided oxygen and beauty. The world was becoming a model of how to live in harmony with a difficult environment. New Alps had become a center of innovation and manufacturing. The humans had built factories that produced goods for all the colonies. They had developed new technologies that improved life on all the worlds. The planet was becoming a hub of human creativity and industry. They are not just surviving, Nayang reported to Coalition headquarters. They are building something new, something we have never seen before. The most concerning development for the Coalition was the speed of human expansion. Within 2 years, all 17 gift worlds had been colonized. The humans had not only established successful settlements, but had begun to expand beyond their original landing sites. They are spreading across entire continents, reported observer Woojin Lee from New Terra, the largest of the gift worlds. They are building cities, roads, and spaceports. They are turning these worlds into major population centers. The Coalition began to realize that they had seriously underestimated human capabilities. The species they had classified as non-threatening was demonstrating abilities that rivaled the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Dr. Taemin Park, who had originally classified the humans, received disturbing reports from all the colony worlds. The humans were not behaving like a level 2 species. They were acting like a level 6 or even level 7 civilization. Their adaptability is extraordinary, Taemin noted in his revised assessment. They have taken 17 different worlds, with varying conditions, and made them all successful. They have created a network of colonies that functions as a single civilization. They have improved their technology at a rate that should be impossible for a primitive species. The Coalition Council held an emergency meeting to discuss the human situation. The gift worlds had been intended to help a struggling species avoid extinction. Instead, they had created a new major power in the galaxy. "We may have made a mistake," admitted Council Chairman Junho Kim. "These humans are not what we thought they were. They are becoming something we did not expect." Worlds were now thriving, human colonies connected by trade routes, communication networks, and shared technology. The humans had created a mini-empire that was growing stronger every day. What worried the coalition most was that the humans showed no signs of slowing down. They continued to improve their technology, expand their settlements, and develop new capabilities. They were becoming a force that could not be ignored. The compensation protocol had been designed to help weak species survive. Instead, it had given humanity the foundation for galactic expansion. The coalition was beginning to realize that they had not rescued a dying species. They had empowered a sleeping giant. The true assessment Dr. Taman Park sat in his laboratory reviewing the original survey data for the 10th time this week. The reports from the human colonies were disturbing. Everything he had observed about human behavior contradicted the assessment that had classified them as non-threatening. Something was wrong with the original data. He called up the technical specifications for survey probe 7749. The probe had been one of the coalition's most advanced observation units, equipped with sensors that could detect everything from biological patterns to technological signatures. It should have been impossible for the probe to make such a serious error. "Computer, show me the probe's operational log during the human observation period," Taman commanded. The data appeared on his screen. In chronological order, for the first year of observation, everything looked normal. The probe's sensors were functioning perfectly, collecting detailed information about human society, technology, and behavior. But then Taman noticed something unusual. Solar flare. "Detected in system during observation period," the computer announced. Probe experienced temporary sensor malfunction for 47 days. Taman felt his stomach drop. Solar flares could damage sensitive electronic equipment, even with the best shielding. He quickly accessed the probe's diagnostic reports from that period. The damage was worse than he had feared. The solar flare had affected several critical sensor systems, including the ones responsible for analyzing social organization, technological development patterns, and behavioral prediction. The probe had continued to function, but it had been working with incomplete data. The probe missed the most important aspects of human civilization, Taman realized. It focused on their current technology level, but ignored their potential for growth and adaptation. He began reviewing the data that the probe had collected after the malfunction. The information was limited and biased towards surface observations. The probe had seen human wars and conflicts, but had missed the remarkable cooperation that happened during crises. It had measured their primitive rockets, but had not detected their rapid technological advancement. Most importantly, the probe had failed to analyze human psychology properly. It had not understood the human drive to explore, to improve, and to never give up in the face of challenges. These were the qualities that made humans dangerous, not their current weapons or technology. Meanwhile, on the human colony worlds, the transformation continued at an alarming pace. Environmental engineer Subin Yang had been working on New Gaia, a world that had been covered in toxic swamps when the humans arrived. In just 18 months, she had turned it into a beautiful garden world. "The soil purification process is working better than expected," Subin reported to Earth. "We have removed 90% of the toxins and replaced them with nutrients. The native plants are beginning to grow again, and we have introduced Earth species that are adapting well to the local environment." The coalition observers were amazed by the speed of the transformation. Most species would have taken decades. To achieve what the humans had accomplished in less than 2 years, the humans were not just surviving on these worlds, they were healing damaged ecosystems and making them better than they had been before. Dr. Taman Park shared his findings with the Coalition Council. The room fell silent as he explained how the damaged probe had provided incomplete information about human capabilities. "The original assessment was based on flawed data," Taman admitted. "We classified humans as level 2 based on their current technology, but we completely missed their potential." A proper assessment would have classified them as level 8 or higher. Level 8 was the same classification as the Coalition's founding species. It meant a civilization with the potential to become a major galactic power. The humans should never have been considered for the compensation protocol. You are telling us that we accidentally gave 17 worlds to a species that could become our rivals? Said Council Chairman Jun-Ho Kim. That is exactly what I'm telling you, Taemin replied. And based on current reports, they are already becoming our rivals. The human colonies had begun to develop technologies that surpassed Coalition standards in some areas. Their agricultural techniques were more efficient than anything the Coalition had seen. Their environmental restoration methods were revolutionary. Their ability to adapt to different planetary conditions was unprecedented. Most concerning was their social organization. The humans had created a network of colonies that worked together seamlessly. They shared resources, knowledge, and technology across multiple star systems. They had built a civilization that was becoming stronger and more advanced every day. Intelligence. Analyst Won-Young Park had been monitoring human communications between the colonies. What he discovered worried him deeply. They are not just building settlements, Won-Young reported. They are building infrastructure for expansion. They have established manufacturing centers, research facilities, and training academies. Are preparing for something much larger than simple colonization. The humans had begun to survey star systems beyond their gift worlds. They were looking for additional planets to colonize, resources to exploit, and opportunities to expand their growing empire. They were acting like a major galactic power, not like grateful recipients of charity. They are planning to expand beyond the 17 worlds, Won-Young continued. They have identified over 50 potential colony sites in nearby systems. Are building a fleet of ships capable of interstellar travel. They are recruiting colonists from Earth for additional settlement missions. The Coalition Council realized they were facing a crisis. The compensation protocol had been designed to help struggling species, not to create new galactic powers. The humans had taken their gift and transformed it into something the Coalition had never intended. We need to establish limits, suggested Councilmember Min-Young Lee. We can impose restrictions on their expansion, require them to follow Coalition regulations and monitor their activities more closely. But Dr. Taemin Park shook his head. I do not think they will accept restrictions. The humans have already demonstrated that they do not respond well to external authority. They are independent, self-reliant, and suspicious of outside control. The human colonies had established their own government, their own laws, and their own military forces. They had created a confederation of worlds that answered to no outside authority. They respected the Coalition but did not consider themselves subject to Coalition rule. They see themselves as equals, not subjects, Taemin explained. They accepted our gift, but they did not accept our authority. They are building their own civilization according to their own rules. The Coalition found themselves in an impossible situation. They had created a new galactic power by accident, and they had no way to control or contain it. The humans were too strong to be forced into submission, and too independent to accept voluntary restrictions. What do you recommend? Asked Chairman Jun-Ho Kim. We need to accept the reality of the situation, Taemin replied. The humans are no longer a primitive species in need of help. They are a growing civilization with the potential to become one of the major powers in the galaxy. We need to start treating them as equals, not as charity cases. The room fell silent as the council members considered the implications. The galaxy had been stable for thousands of years, with the Coalition maintaining order and balance among the various species. Now there was a new player in the game, one that they had accidentally created. We made a mistake, Chairman Jun-Ho Kim admitted. We gave them worlds thinking we were helping a dying species. Instead, we gave them the foundation. For an empire, as the human colonies continued to grow and develop, unaware of the concern they were causing in Coalition headquarters. They were focused on building their new civilization, exploring their new worlds, creating a better future for their species. They had no idea that their success was causing a crisis in galactic politics. They were simply doing what humans had always done, adapting, improving, and never giving up. The galaxy was about to learn what that meant. The human network 5 years after first contact. The human colonies had grown beyond anything the Coalition had imagined possible. What started as 17 separate settlements had become a unified civilization that spanned 3 star systems. Trade Coordinator Hyunjin Kim stood in the command center on New Eden. Watching cargo ships move between the human worlds like blood flowing through veins, "The morning shipment from New Sahara has arrived," reported Logistics Officer Dongwoo Park. 15,000 tons of rare minerals and energy cells. The afternoon convoy from New Alps is bringing manufactured goods and new technology components. It nodded as he studied the traffic control displays. Every day, hundreds of ships moved between the human worlds, carrying resources, people, and information. The humans had created something the galaxy had never seen before, a completely integrated, multi-world civilization. "How long until the new hyperspace relay is operational?" Hyunjin asked. 2 weeks, Dongwoo replied. "Once it is online, communication time between our farthest colonies will be reduced from 6 hours to 6 minutes. The humans had not been content with the basic technology provided by the Coalition. They had studied it, improved it, and developed their own versions that were often superior to the originals. Their hyperspace communication system was faster and more reliable than the Coalition standard. On New Terra, military analyst Won-young Park was reviewing intelligence reports that made him increasingly uncomfortable. The humans had established what they called the Compensation Defense Network, a series of defensive installations that protected all 17 worlds. "Their military technology is advancing rapidly," Won-young reported to Coalition headquarters. "They have developed weapon systems that we have never seen before. Their ships are faster and more maneuverable than ours. Their defensive shields can withstand attacks that would destroy Coalition vessels." Humans had not built their military for conquest. They built it for protection. But the result was the same. They now possessed military capabilities that rivaled the Coalition's own forces. Commander the Jin Chen of the Human Defense Fleet was conducting training exercises near New Mars when the Coalition monitoring ship appeared on her sensors. She had been expecting this visit for weeks. "Coalition vessel, this is Commander Chen of the Human Defense Fleet." She broadcast on standard diplomatic frequencies. "Welcome to human space. Please state your business." The Coalition ship was conducting what they called a routine inspection, but the Jin knew better. They were testing human responses and gathering intelligence about human capabilities. She had been ordered to be polite but firm. "We are here to observe your military exercises," came the reply from the Coalition vessel. "As part of our ongoing monitoring of the compensation worlds, you are welcome to observe from a safe distance," the Jin responded. "However, please note that you are now in sovereign human territory. We appreciate your respect for our boundaries." Message was clear. Humans were no longer accepting Coalition oversight. They had declared their independence without formally declaring their independence. They were polite about it, but they were also absolute. Back on the Coalition capital, world, the Council was in emergency session. Reports from the human colonies painted a picture of a civilization that was rapidly becoming a major galactic power. The humans had not only survived on their gift worlds, they had thrived beyond all expectations. They control 17 fully developed worlds, reported Intelligence Director Sung-ho Kim. They have a population of over 50 million spread across 3 star systems. They have developed advanced technology, established a powerful military, and created a government that rivals our own in efficiency. Council Chairman Jun-ho Kim studied the reports with growing concern. The humans had achieved in 5 years what most species took centuries to accomplish. They had gone from a primitive civilization to a galactic power in less time than it took most species to establish a single successful colony. "What are their intentions?" asked Council Member Minhoon. "Lee, are they planning to expand beyond the compensation worlds?" "They have already begun expansion," Sung-ho replied. "They have established research stations in 12 additional star systems. They are surveying planets for potential colonization. They have made contact with 3 independent species and established trade agreements." The humans were not just building a civilization, they were building an empire. They were expanding their influence, establishing alliances, and positioning themselves as a major player in galactic politics. On New Geneva, diplomatic coordinator Munesio Park was meeting with representatives from the Carrion Trade Federation, independent group of merchant species that had never joined the coalition. The Carrions were interested in establishing trade relationships with the humans. "Your people have impressive technology," said Carrion, Ambassador Veltar. "We are particularly interested in your agricultural techniques and your environmental restoration methods. We have worlds that could benefit from your expertise." Munesio smiled. The humans had something valuable to offer the galaxy, not just resources or military power, but knowledge and innovation. They had developed solutions to problems that had plagued other species for generations. "We would be happy to share our knowledge," Munesio replied. "In exchange, we are interested in your hyperspace navigation technology and your mineral extraction techniques." The coalition watched these negotiations with alarm. The humans were establishing relationships that bypassed coalition authority entirely. They were creating their own network of allies and trading partners. "They are building an alternative power structure," observed Dr. Taman Park during a briefing to the council. "They are not challenging the coalition directly, but they are creating their own sphere of influence. Other species are starting to see them as an alternative to coalition membership." This was the coalition's greatest fear. For thousands of years, they had maintained galactic stability by being the only major power. Species either joined the coalition or remained isolated and weak. The humans were creating a third option, a strong, independent civilization that could offer protection and partnership without demanding submission. The situation came to a head when the coalition attempted to impose new regulations on the human colonies. They sent Ambassador J-Ho Lee to deliver an official notice requiring the humans to register their military assets and submit to coalition oversight. The human response was swift and coordinated. Every human world simultaneously broadcast the same message to coalition space. "We thank the Galactic Coalition for their generous gift of the compensation worlds," the message began. "We have used these worlds to build a thriving civilization that we believe makes the galaxy a better place. However, we must respectfully decline any external oversight of our internal affairs." The message was delivered by President Dayun Han herself, speaking on behalf of all human worlds. Her tone was polite but firm. "We consider ourselves friends and allies of the coalition," Dayun continued. "We are willing to cooperate on matters of mutual interest and to follow reasonable galactic laws. However, we are a sovereign civilization with the right to govern ourselves according to our own values and principles." The message ended with a statement that shocked the coalition. "We invite the coalition to establish formal diplomatic relations with humanity as an equal partner in galactic civilization." The humans were no longer asking for permission or accepting charity. They were demanding recognition as an independent galactic power. They had the military strength to defend their position, the economic power to sustain their civilization, and the diplomatic skill to build alliances with other species. The coalition faced a choice. They could accept the humans as equals and try to maintain friendly relations, or they could attempt to force the humans back into submission and risk a war that might destabilize the entire galaxy. "They have outgrown our control," admitted Chairman Junho Kim. "We created this situation by giving them the compensation worlds. Now we must decide how to live with the consequences." The human civilization continued to grow and develop, confident in their strength and proud of their achievements. They had taken the coalition's gift and transformed it into something magnificent. Now they were ready to take their place as a major power in galactic civilization, whether the coalition liked it or not. The new galactic order, the coalition council chamber, had never been so tense. For 3 days, representatives from thousands of member species had debated the human question. The galaxy's oldest and most powerful government was facing a crisis that threatened to change everything they had built over millennia. Council Chairman Junho Kim stood before the assembly, holding the official human proposal for diplomatic recognition. The document was simple and direct, written in the same straightforward style that had characterized all human communications. The Human Confederation requests formal recognition as a sovereign galactic civilization, Junho read aloud. We propose the establishment of mutual diplomatic relations based on equality, respect, and cooperation for the benefit of all galactic species. Murmurs filled the chamber. Some species supported recognizing the humans as equals. Others argued that doing so would encourage other species to challenge coalition authority. A few suggested that the humans should be forced back into compliance through military action. The humans have demonstrated capabilities that qualify them for major power status, argued Representative Kylan Wu of the Altarian Federation. They have built a thriving multi-world civilization in just 5 years. They've developed advanced technology and established peaceful relations with neighboring species. They deserve recognition. But Representative Torvis of the Hegemony disagreed. If we accept the humans as equals, what message does that send to other species? Every civilization that receives compensation worlds will expect the same treatment. The entire foundation of galactic order will collapse. Ambassador Jae-ho Lee had been working for months to find a peaceful solution to the human question. He had spent weeks on the human worlds, meeting with their leaders and studying their civilization. What he had seen had changed his perspective completely. I have observed the human colonies firsthand, Jae-ho told the council. They have created something remarkable. Their worlds are prosperous and peaceful. Their people are happy and productive. They have solved problems that have plagued other species for generations. We should be learning from them, not trying to control them. The debate continued for hours. Some council members worried about the military implications. The humans had built defensive forces that could resist coalition intervention. Any attempt to force them into submission would result in a war that could spread across multiple star systems. Others were concerned about the economic impact. The humans had established trade relationships with dozens of independent species. They were offering technology and resources that rivaled coalition services. Other species began to see the humans as an alternative to coalition membership. It could undermine the entire galactic economy. Meanwhile, on New Terra, President Muneso Park was meeting with his cabinet to discuss the coalition's deliberations. The humans had been monitoring coalition communications and knew that their request for recognition was causing controversy. Some coalition species are supporting us, reported Foreign Minister Ji-Hai Lee. The Altarians, the Centauri Republic, and the Free Worlds Alliance have all spoken in favor of our recognition. But the core coalition members are resisting. Munesio nodded. He had expected resistance from the coalition's leadership. They had controlled galactic politics for so long that they found it difficult to accept the emergence of a new major power. What about our defensive preparations? Munesio asked. All human worlds are at full readiness, replied Defense Minister Tae-Zoon Kim. If the coalition decides to use force, we are prepared to defend ourselves. But we hope it will not come to that. The humans had no desire for war. They preferred to solve problems through negotiation and cooperation. But they had also learned from Earth's history that sometimes strength was the only language that bullies understood. On the coalition capital world, Dr. Taemin Park was preparing his final report on the human situation. As the scientist who had originally classified humanity as non-threatening, he felt responsible for the current crisis. His recommendations would carry significant weight with the Council. The humans represent a new type of galactic civilization, Taemin wrote in his report. They combine advanced technology with strong social organization and remarkable adaptability. They are not a threat to galactic peace, but they are a challenge to coalition dominance. Taemin paused, considering his next words carefully. The future of galactic politics might depend on what he wrote. I recommend that the coalition accept the reality of human independence, he continued. Fighting them would be costly and destructive. Embracing them as partners could lead to a new era of galactic cooperation and prosperity. The council reconvened for the final vote. Chairman Junho Kim called for order as representatives took their seats. The decision they made today would determine the future relationship between the coalition and humanity. We have 3 options, Junho announced. We can recognize the humans as equals and establish formal diplomatic relations. We can attempt to force them back into compliance through economic or military pressure. or we can ignore them and hope the problem resolves itself. The third option was quickly dismissed. The humans were too powerful and too active to be ignored. They were expanding their influence every day, and other species were taking notice. The second option was debated extensively. The coalition had the military power to defeat the humans, but the cost would be enormous. The war would destabilize the entire region and could encourage other species to rebel against coalition authority. In the end, practical considerations won out over pride. The coalition voted to recognize humanity as an independent galactic civilization and to establish formal diplomatic relations. Ambassador J-Ho Lee was chosen to deliver the news to the humans. He traveled to New Terra with a small diplomatic fleet, carrying the official recognition documents and proposals for future cooperation. President Munesio Park received the coalition delegation in the Grand Assembly Hall on New Terra. Representatives from all 17 human worlds were present, along with observers from allied species. The Galactic Coalition officially recognizes the Human Confederation as a sovereign galactic civilization, J-Ho announced. We propose the establishment of mutual diplomatic relations based on equality and respect. The humans accepted the recognition with dignity and grace. They had achieved their goal of independence without firing a shot or making threats. They had simply demonstrated their capabilities and insisted on being treated as equals. We are honored to be recognized as partners in galactic civilization, Munesio replied. The Human Confederation looks forward to working with the Coalition and all galactic species to build a better future for everyone. The formal ceremonies continued for days. Treaties were signed, ambassadors were exchanged, and trade agreements were negotiated. The humans were invited to participate in galactic forums and councils as equal partners. But perhaps the most significant moment came when Dr. Taman Park updated the human entry in the Galactic Species database. He changed their classification from Level 2, non-threatening, to Level 9, indeterminate. Level 9 was a new classification, created specifically for humanity. It meant a species whose full potential was unknown, but whose capabilities clearly exceeded normal parameters. It was a classification that recognized the humans as something unique in galactic history. The compensation worlds that had been intended to save a dying species had instead given birth to a new galactic power. The Coalition's mistake had changed the balance of the galaxy forever. As J-Ho Lee prepared to return to Coalition space, he reflected on the remarkable transformation he had witnessed. The humans had taken 17 empty worlds and built a civilization that was already influencing galactic politics. They had proven that sometimes the greatest gifts come from the most unexpected mistakes. The galaxy was no longer the same. A new player had entered the game, and the rules would never be quite the same again. The humans had earned their place among the stars, not through conquest or intimidation, but through determination, innovation, and the simple refusal to accept limitations. The cosmos had classified humanity as non-threatening and compensated them with worlds. In return, humanity had given the galaxy something it had not expected: hope for a different kind of future.